Well, Karen Holton is a social justice activist, an ET experiencer, educator, channel guide, and ascension coach, and she's warning about a nefarious global agenda here on Earth. She also talks about an intergalactic resettlement program. What are they and how will they affect all of us? Karen is joining us now. Hi, Karen, how are you?
I'm good, Dean. How are you?
Great. You've certainly got a lot to talk about. We're going to try and condense it into this
Sure.
particular program, and we'll concentrate firstly on the nefarious agenda, and then also the intergalactic resettlement program. But I wanted to ask you firstly, what do you do and why? Because your list of achievements and it's very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for that lovely introduction. That's very kind of you. Well, I'll tell you, it's hard to put into terms. When you look from my perspective where everything's connected, it's not that complex, but to lay it out a little bit more simpler for people, not saying you're stupid or anything, it's just that not everyone thinks the way Karen thinks, right? I do what I do because I had a series of experiences in my life that woke me up to for lack of a better word, the paranormal. And it started off with angelic contact. I was contacted. I didn't contact them, and they literally saved my life. And then as I became more and more awakened, because my connection with other beings that are not necessarily even validated or considered real in the mainstream thinking. So I just kept accumulating this information. And I'm not much of a reader. I have just issues, I don't want to get into that, which makes it very difficult for me to read. So my research didn't happen until after I had the experiences that confirmed everything I was taught to let me know I was on the right path. So what happens is when a door is open to the point where, and anyone can do this, by the way, I just want to throw that out there. I'm not some kind of a special being or anything. I think I'm pretty average. But when this opens up for people, what happens is we see things very differently. And so the pursuits we may have had in the past no longer matter. Certain things like family still matters, of course, but instead of pursuing, money and, well, basically all the things that can rust and mold and break and be worthless after time, instead of pursuing those, I went to pursue spirituality. And my guides have been very kind to me because I said, I can see value in all these different belief systems, but I can't sit in any one because I'm seeing them all at the same time. So I was given the ability, basically I asked, is there some kind of a context that's big enough that everything else would fit inside? So anyway, there I went on my merry mission and my life changed completely. And I've just been doing my best to get the information out there to people because the message is one of hope and it's one of amazing potential for humanity, and I have great faith in humanity.
Okay, so your experiences, can you actually talk about those and what actually happened during those experiences?
Sure, I'll give you two and I'll try to make it brief. If you want more information, that's totally okay, or people can go and watch my podcast. But the first one I'm a very, very sensitive human being, extremely sensitive. So I'm kind of like the canary in the coal mine. And so that's how I was able to discover all kinds of experiences. But one of them, I moved into a rental. And unbeknownst to me, there was a man who lived there before me who had committed suicide in a very specific way in that house. I knew nothing about it. And I started picking up the imprint of him and what he was going through. And I got really depressed and I actually just made a plan to off myself. And I was contacted, when I started getting really serious about it, I was contacted by, basically I was identified as the Archangel Gabriel. But I think it was not the way we think of angels as a being with wings that came down. What I saw visually was like 1,000 points of light, like the stars in the background behind me. And they spoke in one voice. So it was like 1,000 voices in one voice. And they reached out to me and they told me that there are exit points. We can leave if we want to, but boy, if I stuck around, I was going to really experience some exciting parts of life, and that they would help me. And so, and they have. So that's one example. Another example is I started waking up in the morning and realizing I was having these extremely vivid dreams, but they weren't dreams. Because when I dream, it's often disjointed. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's highly symbolic. These were actual adventures that were much longer than the 8 hours I had spent sleeping. So this was happening while I was asleep. This is a very spiritual, etheric experience. Although when I was in the experience, it was very three-dimensional and very physical and very real. So it was the coolest thing I ever did. And then I also got what we call a spiritual download, which was an intense amount of information that just kind of dropped like a packet into my brain, and took me 2 years to unpack it and put it into common language. And I developed the Quantum Health Transformation Program, which is absolutely free, no strings attached, available through the internet. And so that was another example of what happened.
I mean, you talk about these experiences being spiritual, so there was no physical attachment to them at all?
Well, there kind of is and there isn't. Like, it's really hard to describe these experiences because they use technologies we can't even imagine. So when I first went there, I remember the orientation session. When I went for the orientation session, I was there physically. Now, I don't know if I left my bed or not, but I went to bed at night and I was having a physical experience. And in the orientation process, it's really quite cool. You get a full body scan. They take an imprint of your DNA. They even can tell traumas and things that have happened in past lives. It's amazing what they're able to do. And not for everybody, but in my case, over time, they actually gave me a clone. So it was much easier for me to just do a soul transfer while I was sleeping and attend exopolitical meetings, the pre-settlement program, which is really interesting. It's very archaeological. And I didn't actually resettle, but I learned a lot about the resettlement program, and I was able to bring that back. So the other thing is that a lot of this I didn't remember right away. I remembered pieces of it, but over time, when the time was right, it's like my memories were released and I was then able to produce. I'm actually working on a book right now because it's so much information.
You referred to them as off-worlders. I mean, were you able to actually visually look at them and see what they look like?
Oh yeah, we were all there physically. And what's really cool and why I think it's my mission to tell people about this experience is because it's a beautiful template for where we're going. They're not that far ahead of us, but they are our next step in evolution. They are at our next step of capability. And so it's to show people what we're able to slide into if and when we're ready, individually and collectively. And they're beautiful, Dean. They're so beautiful. Most of them are taller with larger frames, but they don't have genetic defects. They don't have any of that. Plus, these particular beings, there's a whole culture out there of beings who don't even live on planets. They live on these enormous city ships. It can be miles in diameter. And they live there all their lives. And they're emigrating with other big ships. There's a whole culture where they get together, very much like the clan gatherings that we've heard about with Aboriginal groups, very much like that. And they often intermarry. So there's no template for a being that looks a certain way. No, they're all different. The same kind of diversity we see on Earth, but then again in other directions, but they're beautiful. And the whole culture is love-based. And what I'm talking about, love, is not necessarily sex, although there is some of that goes on the first 100 years. They live for like at least 500 years longer. They live for basically as long as they want. Anyway, getting back to sorry, so much
No, that's all
information,
right.
so many directions here. But anyway, yeah, so they intermarry, they immigrate, they very much like each little or a huge ship could be looked at as a world in itself, right? There's all this going on. The other thing is they don't speak. It's a very quiet, wonderful, peaceful environment. And so it's all done telepathically, but it also includes some other things like gesturing and facial expression. It's not just mind to mind. And the thing that's so cool about these beings is they can communicate privately, publicly, with, you know, like with a group, with a small number of people, with only their children. They can work and angle their abilities so that they still have, you know, some privacy and boundaries, because boundaries are really important. But because they're love-based, they're into peace, they're into kindness, they're into patience. They were so patient with me. I couldn't believe it. They were so beautifully patient. And so it's just the most wonderful experience of my life. And I'm very grateful for people like you that have me on your show, so I can tell people that this is not only possible, this is very real and it's going on. And hopefully in our near future, we can experience some of that.
Some people will ask, if the beings are so advanced, why would they bother with a species like us?
Oh, they don't even, most of them don't even know we exist. Like, we're very earth and human centric in our thinking, and we think it's all about us. Well, first of all, most beings out there have never even heard of us. Second of all, they wouldn't want anything to do with us because we're a horrible species. Yep. And I'm not saying we're horrible because we're choosing to be, but right now, it's never been more evident. But even if you go back historically, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, you know, there's always somebody, some elite shafting it to the common people, right? There's no way that would be so abhorrent and disturbing to them. They would never, ever want to bring that onto the ship. They would never want to bring that. I mean, let's face it, colonialism. Can you imagine? Oh, the space program and going out and conquering all these planets and killing all these animal species that they don't like. Like, can you imagine the horror? There's no way that the other beings, and that's really important, not just the group I contact, but even the more local group, off-world groups, there's no way they're going to allow that infection to spread to other worlds. No way.
Yeah. Well, the ones interacting with us, are they trying to move us along, or are they trying to hurry us up in our evolution?
I'm not 100% sure, because I actually only a few weeks ago had my first experience where I was introduced to them. So I hear people talking about, you know, reptilians and Anunnaki and Pleiadians and all that. And I don't know anything about them. I just didn't have the experience. And then about, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was working as an ambassador. And when I'm an ambassador, I'm often taken at night, but it's etheric, it's spiritual. I believe my body isn't there. Because sometimes I woke up, you know, during it and then go back to sleep and I'm back in the meeting again. Anyway, they introduced me to some of these beings. I was amazed at how noble and how regal and the presence, because we've been conditioned for so many thousands of years to think we're less than what we are. And I'm not talking about an egocentric sense of self, that they're just amazing. I was amazed at the way they were draped in different kinds of cool fabrics and things. They were so beautiful. So I don't really know what their agenda is. The ones that were there at the council meeting, there's a fine line. First of all, they can't interfere with developing species. There's a few that have, and that's why the local E.T.s are here. It's because if they don't come in and stop what shouldn't be happening in the first place, right, then we're doomed, because the species, there's only, I don't know, a few of them that are, I don't know a lot about that, so I won't speak to it, but I do know that the ones that have been involved with our politicians and the earth, they have strayed from the collective that honors non-interference with beings. Yep. So anyway, so they're here to protect for that. Plus, the other thing is that they have the power to neutralize our nuclear bombs and that kind of business. And they also have med beds, not like the ones you see on YouTube. The ones I've experienced are amazing. They're actually organic. One day I hope I can come back and talk about the ships because they're completely organic. They're sentient in themselves. It's so cool. It's so cool, you know. Yeah, and it's a privilege. Sorry, I'm rambling, but
no. I mean,
so
you mentioned some names there. I mean, we give species of aliens names, as you mentioned, you know, Pleiadians, Anunnaki, Greys, the Arcturians. Is that what they think themselves as, or
no, nowhere near it. I got to tell you, one thing that they find interesting about humans is that we have to make meaning out of everything. You have to say, this means this means that. That's ascribed meaning. They don't do that. They have compassion and they have empathy, and don't let anyone tell you they don't have feelings. They sure do have feelings, just they're more mature, way more mature than us. But they have a reality, and they know there's different timelines and there's different phases of reality, but reality is basically reality. They don't do all this meaning. So they don't have all these names. I think they give names to contactees because it helps us to have a point of reference. It's like the DSM-4. It's really screwy, but it's the best we have, right?
Right. So in that respect, I mean, we like to think there's a higher power up there watching over us. Gods, every culture's got one. Did they ever speak to that?
Well, what I know is, sometimes it's hard to tell what I know and what I believe. You know what I mean? Because I believe what I know. But it looks like. Sorry, can you ask me the question again?
Yeah, no, just in reference to God or gods.
Oh, yeah. In reference to that, basically, a lot of our history of God has been distorted through time and cultures, but a lot of those beings were Offworlders. So it's not that Offworlders don't believe in God, they believe in a consciousness that is a universal consciousness that is about balance and peace. And not all worlds are like this. We're really lucky to be in the world we're in. There's so much life here. Ocean's full of life. The air around is full of life. The solar system, the galaxy, the universe is full of life. It's a very amazing timeline, or not timeline, but reality that we've been born into. So I would say that their concept of God is more manifesting the qualities of God in the individual. And they don't believe that that's it, that you die and there's nothing left. There's no heaven and hell. Basically, remove the dogma and you got it. Remove all the dogma around Christ. And this is just my personal belief I'm going to put in here. I wasn't told this. This is my belief, is that rather than worshiping a being called Christ, I'm not debating whether Christ existed or not, but for us to internally incorporate that personality, that character within ourselves, so that we're all shining the Christ. Okay, so these guys are at our next stage of evolution, so that they're already living that way, and they don't need the kind of words and stuff that we use. Language is extremely corrupting. It's extremely limiting. It's the source of all the kinds of misunderstandings. So, and then you take all the different languages we have on the earth. Oh my goodness, so they don't have that. So I would say, yes, they believe in God, but it's not an old man in a chair, and it's not a being that's going to come down. And it's a universal energy pattern that's also the love harmonic.
Okay, so let's just switch tact, and it may even be related, but you talk about a nefarious global agenda here on Earth. What is it, and what's its agenda?
Well, first of all, I just want to speak a little bit to energy. Now, when we put energy into an organization, it could be a corporation, or whether we want to put it into a spirit being, we're creating, because we have creative ability. That's one of the things that the nefarious agenda wants us to not know about and not take control of, okay? So I believe that there has been bloodlines of people who have maintain the power. And I think the reason they maintain the power is because they don't have the ability to have compassion or empathy. They're psychopaths. And psychopaths just repeat the same stuff over and over again because they don't have what goes along with compassion and empathy is creativity, novel thinking, abstract thinking. They don't have that. All they've got is this lineage thing and this power that they've been doing for thousands of years here on Earth. And I believe their belief systems have created the satanic or Luciferian agenda. So I would debate whether or not that's an actual lizard-like being or whether that's an energy that has been maintained, a structural energy that's been maintained for thousands of years. So these people are psychopaths. They believe that they are more advanced than us. They have entitlement. They have, I mean, everything that you could go wrong with the human condition they have. And then they've just been using brute force because they have no empathy. So they don't care, right? And it's branched off through religion, the economic policies, the political systems, the medical industry, the media. Now it's really it's always been this way, just it's been hidden. And now it's all coming out into our faces all at once. It's one big gooey mess. You can imagine why many advanced groups are not going to want to come down here and try to kumbaya with this. It's a big mess. And we have a personal responsibility in this mess because we maintain it. We maintain it with the choices we make when we're shopping, the way we treat each other behind closed doors that no one sees, the way that we go to work and do jobs where we're compartmentalized, but you can find the information now if you want to, that maybe the corporations people are working for, they're actually supporting an evil system. And I could go on and on and on to that, but I think you got the point.
Yeah. Are these off-worlders aware of this agenda?
Now, the particular group that I deal with most do not. Like I said, they would find it abhorrent and disturbing. They're very peaceful, loving people. But in the exopolitical work that I do, see, the big ship that I go to has, on the one hand, these beings, but it also gives us a platform where we can do the exopolitical work. So I'm meeting with beings from all kinds of different quadrants of the galaxy, solar system, all kinds. And there it is discussed because it's an infection that has to be contained. It's a threat to the whole. It's like if your body gets cancer and you leave it and exacerbate it, the whole body is going to die. Well, the ecology of the universe and even the omniverse, some would debate, is important, just like the ecology on the earth. Everything affects everything else. So I would say, no, the common people, what I call common people, off-worlders, I don't talk a lot about it because it's like I said, it's disturbing, extremely disturbing. Part of the challenge of being able to communicate with these beings is to be able to shut all that off and accept a completely different thinking system so that, I'm not spending time in thinking about things that would be disturbing to them because it's a love-based thing. But in the council where I work as an exopolitical ambassador, yeah, these things do come up and they are aware. And the debate over how much and when and where involvement should happen goes on. And what I do is I give an Earth perspective. So I say, well, this is from my perspective, how I'm experiencing what's going on Earth, the research I've done, what I know from history. This is, and I keep telling them that I think humans are worth saving. I think we're good. If you really remove all the conditioning and all the fear, man, we're beautiful. We're like the Good Samaritan from the Bible,
Yep. Karen, I mean, this global agenda, going way back to the beginning, I guess. I mean, was it something created and started by off-worlders, or I mean, would have we been smart enough to have come up with something like this?
Yeah, because you see, from what I know, You know, when you go back to those monolithic, ancient structures and stuff, because we've been brainwashed to believe that humans are evolving, the actual truth is we've been devolving. That's been part of the program. And so a lot of that was us. A lot of the advanced technology was us. We were able to do those things, right? But somehow in there, and then this is another aspect that I want to throw in there, is I've also had it revealed to me that we're a bit of a scientific experiment. There was many races who contributed to our creation. We have been mutated from a combination of off-world godlike beings and some kind of mammal species here, right? And so what's happened is we've you know, we were way more advanced than before, but somehow when there's psychopathy developed, and I think psychopathy developed from a independence or a straying from what works. So going from functional to dysfunctional. And power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We're not meant to operate in a power structure. That's not our thing, right?
Right.
We're supposed to be stewards and taking care of the animals and just loving life.
We've gone off the rails at some point.
Yeah.
So what about the Intergalactic Resettlement Program? Is that related to what you're talking about?
It is and it isn't. The thing is again, we think in very human-centric terms. So there have been civilizations of humanoid beings, intelligent humanoid beings on different planets and stuff all over the universe. And so parts of the universe are much older than other parts. And so we're seeing advancement happen at different rates, and it's incredible. It's pretty mind-boggling really what's going on. But sorry, I keep losing my train of thought because I have so much to think about. Okay, we're talking about
the Intergalactic Resettlement Program.
So what happens is the Intergalactic Resettlement Program has been going on forever all over the universe, because planets are not the safest places to live. There are all kinds of catastrophic things happening, and you know, like even like what's going on Earth today, right? There's suns that go out, and there's all kinds of things. That's why so many beings live in these habitats in space, which is another term for like huge, big, giant ships. And so this has been going on for a long time. And so what they do not do, because of the non-interference way of conducting things, because people, when we make mistakes and when we learn on our own, we get it on a much deeper level, right? So anyway, they've created these things when beings are ready to reach out and make contact, and it's similar to like CE5, right? Human or being initiated contact. Then contact starts to happen, and they will encourage populations, much like they did in the past, where certain ones would become more like shaman and would know stuff and be spiritual and would share it with the common people, because it kind of has to get downstepped into whatever the common culture is. This has been going on for a very, very long time. Now, as far as Earth goes right now, today, a spaceship will, in my opinion, will not show up and take us all aboard and move us to a brand new planet. I can't see that happening for a number of reasons. One reason is because they have complete confidence that we can fix this for ourselves. We're powerful, creative beings. We can stand up and reclaim our sovereignty, the sovereignty for our planet, and we can do this. And that is their big hope, right? Now, come a time where all hell breaks loose. I don't know, satellite or something's going to fly from the sky and destroy the planet or something like that. There is a chance for certain people to be rescued, but they're not going to take psychopathic beings. That's not going to happen. And even those of us who are not psychopathic, we've been raised often in narcissistic type environments. So what we need to do is we need to learn how to deal with our personal shit, our collective shit, when we need to get on it right now. And their hope is that we will then get to the point where we can do a more intense CE5, and then we can have some evacuations going on. But in the meantime, they're not just going to come down here and scoop everybody up and rescue everybody. No, we have to deal with our addictions. we have to deal with our own, and we all have it, lack of good nature. All of that has to be very, I mean, basically, if you go into any of the religions and you find the devout, sincere, humble people, they're working already on this. This is the amazing thing, right? It's not anything we can't do. So when we get to that point, however, another branch of all of this is apparently some beings are being rescued and taken off planet, and they're using different kinds of healing technologies to help them. I don't know much about it. I haven't had personal experience with any of that. But the big rescue ain't happening. We are going to rescue ourselves, and then we're going to be ready for contact. And the funny thing about that is it's also kind of mirrored in this Project Looking Glass stuff that the whistleblowers are telling us about. So there is a good future, just a little bit of crap we've got to go through in the meantime. But crap makes flowers grow. So
Yep. And the Looking Glass project you talk about, it's a whole nother interview, but it's quite fascinating. Karen, can you talk a little bit about the download you received? So all the information you're giving us today, was all this part of the download?
No. I get information in a number of ways. I get, like, in my head a concept, and then sometimes I'll go to the internet and look it up and find, wow, look at all this information. So it's kind of like there's kind of a cool connection between even the internet and the spiritual realms, where because it's better if we go find the information for ourselves, but definitely I get directed in the right way. Then there's also my experiences meeting with Offworlders, ongoing through my sleep and stuff. But this download is huge. It's huge. And if anyone who wants to take a look, it's either on my website. I got a playlist on my YouTube channel. It's called Quantum Health Transformation. It's not broken into 9 steps. The first 3 steps are about opening up your mind. So, and I go from step 9 down to step 1, because 9 makes the foundation for 8. It's just the way my brain sorted it out, right? So step 9 is a way I introduce a tool that my Offworlder friends gave me the whole concept for, and it's a nubby ball, and it's a concept tool that helps us to look at the greater, get a greater glimpse of the whole. Because we're living in what's been fed to us as a binary system, up, down, black, white, good, bad. But what about all the stuff in the middle, right? There's tons and tons of stuff that's left out of that type of analysis. So it helps you to open your mind and to start doing an analysis. Plus it includes light shadow work. Step 8 is about opening your mind to technologies that are all around us that we don't know are technologies. Things like earthing and grounding and eating real foods and all kinds of positive affirmations and visualization. So many things. These are all technologies to help us if we just choose to use them. Step 7 is about male-female integration, because we have both. We have the energy of both. And it also gives a very brief explanation on why so many people on a very physical level are experiencing the transgender situation. So, so steps 9, 8, and 7 is all about waking up your mind, integrating your light and shadow body, but also your male-female body. Then you go into detoxification, external detoxification, internal, emotional. And what that is because we have been poisoned, especially the last 100 years, maybe more, where our food, what we think is food, is not food. It's full of toxins, and medications are full of toxins, and the water and the air. And if you don't detoxify, what happens is the pineal gland doesn't work properly, and it stunts our ability to advance, evolve, and become more emotionally. So it's everything. So I go into everything and how to make your own for almost nothing, non-toxic, everything from hand sanitizers to cleaning products. It's all in there. It's a lot of work. Then there is step 4, which is about how to detoxify from the construct. So how to get your mind out of recognizing how we're being controlled and conditioned. And then the last 3 are really fun, but you kind of got to do the other ones before you do the last 3. And they're all about spiritual stuff. So they're all about how to manifest, but how to manifest in a way that actually brings lasting joy and peace to your life, not just adding a bunch of junk to your garage, how to do all kinds of things like that. And then step 2 is on how to form your own soul group. Like, we have choice in who we bring into our realm, whether it's physical or spiritual. Why not take advantage of that and custom make your own spiritual team that you go to for support? It's amazing what we can do, but we've been brainwashed to believe we can't do that.
Yeah.
The final step is just simple exercises and ways that we can practice virtues. And when we practice them, we discover, especially if we've done all the other steps, they're almost like doorways or vortices into another reality. I believe it actually helps us to shift from a not so pleasant timeline into a more pleasant timeline. I don't know, but it's amazing. Anyway, and it's all free. There's no strings attached. I do have PDFs of all the videos, all the lessons available on my website, but I'm charging $3.99 each because I need to make a little bit of money to recuperate, my losses, to run the website, everything else.
Yeah, and your website is?
It's www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton, healthcoach.com. I'm a different kind of health coach. And yeah, everything is on there. I'm constantly updating it so that it matches what I have already on YouTube. But I also have a line of my own orgone generators, which I've created because they've really helped me a lot. Yep, and I didn't believe in them until I started using them. And so I do that. If people want to help support my work, rather than just send me money, why not buy one of my beautiful orgone generators, have them in your home, enjoy them, experience them. To me, that makes a better exchange of, energy. And I also have services available, especially for the newly awakening. What's happening right now is a beautiful thing is coming out of this earth crisis, and that is people are waking up. Where do they go for support and help, right? So I want to have stuff, boom, 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 that they can start using right now to help make their lives simpler, easier, and point them in, healthy directions.
What about all the people in the world, we still use the term alien abduction, that have had abduction experiences and are pretty confused about what they went through or are going through? There must be so many people there that just are just keeping to themselves. I mean, what can they do?
Well, the first thing they can do is start watching material, especially like on social media and stuff, from people who are experiencers, and they can find out that there's a huge array of different experiences. Now, a good friend of mine, Preston Dennett, he has worked for MUFON and he's been investigating. He's a beautiful person. He's just devoted his whole life to it. And I have him on my show quite regularly. And we talk about all of this, and he believes that some of these negative abduction situations are actually fabricated by nefarious people, earth people, humans, to create a fear within us of our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters. But some of it is also real. But what happens over time is people that have these experiences, when they get over the fear, they realize that it's not, they were never in harm's way. They're even taken to, show how to fly the ship. Sometimes they're allowed to fly the ships. Like, depending on how much we conquer our own fear, then we can see past that. It's like a cloud, and we can see all the other stuff. So there's very few, Preston has never heard of anybody being tortured or treated cruelly. Some of the procedures are not fun and, do cause some discomfort, but there's so many cases of these abductions involving healing. And everybody who's had an experience, whether it's positive or negative, their lives are changed forever.
Karen, last last point here. I mean, it's a crazy upside down world we're living in now with everything going on. And I talk to a lot of people, and everyone seems to have a feeling of something big's about to happen. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, something really big is going to happen.
can you put your finger on what?
Intellectually, I do not, but physically, wow, it's huge, because part of how I sense and communicate is through body sensation, right? It's huge. It takes up my whole torso. It's huge. And the feeling I'm getting is excitement, not fear, excitement. And it's coming very, very soon. So we've been told by all kinds of whistleblowers, you know, that there's something going to happen and a huge shift, and it is, but I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be all of a sudden, like, you know how lately we've had so many more sightings going on. Some of them are human induced and some of them are not. Well, I don't know if it's going to be that they're going to clear the skies and all come out and show us, because I recently did a astral projection with a friend of mine, and we were headed somewhere else, but we stopped because we were shocked at how many ships, what we call ships, and the diversity of what they look like and what they were probably made out of surrounding our planet right now was huge. I couldn't believe it. And then the fact that at the exopolitical meeting I went to, or I was involved in, I got to meet these different beings that apparently frequent our corner of the galaxy. So something I think is going to involve E.T.s, but I'm not sure if they're going to be supportive. I don't know if it's going to be, but it's going to be a huge awakening, and we're going to know the truth. We're going to know everything. Everything is going to come out. We're going to know the absolute truth. And I think the absolute truth is we're going to take our place where we belong in our own ascension, evolution, and start to associate more with our star brothers and sisters, cousins, etc.
Okay, Karen, I'd love to have you back at some stage and talk more about the ships and what's involved and the beings that are running them. But we've run out of time. But
it's okay.
Absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it very much, and I wish the very best to everybody out there.
And your website again, Karen Holton?
Healthcoach.com. And I'm also on YouTube and on Odyssey, and it's just Karen Holton TV. But Holton has 2 O's. That's why I usually spell it.
Okay.
And I'm also part of the Forbidden Knowledge News Network with Chris Matthew now too. So it's pretty easy to find me.
Fantastic. Karen, thank you
so much. Thank you so much, Dean. Hope you have a great day.
You too. Karen Holton joining us today.